What is poppin', YouTube? Back again with another video. Today, it's a special day. It's a special day here on the channel. We're doing top 5 receivers that have wide receiver 1 overall upside, and I am joined by FF Snoog. So go follow this man on Twitter, Snoog's Dynasty Society. He does Dynasty and Redraft, but let's be clear. His Dynasty content is like top 2, top 3 on Twitter right now. It's absolutely incredible. First off, the graphics on par. Love himself some Alvin Kamara, but his DMs are open 24/7. So without further ado, let's welcome in our man FF Snoog, dude. Appreciate you joining the channel and excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, Caleb. I mean, we've been in contact for a while now. You've been following me for a bit, and we've been going back and forth in the DM. So I'm excited to finally hop on with you and talk breakout wide receivers because we're on page with a lot of these guys, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, no, excited to dive in. And we're going to take this perspective of, we're going to talk about it from a dynasty perspective. We're going to talk about it from a redraft best ball perspective, but excited to dive in. So first player that you brought to the attention that we need to talk about is Calvin Ridley.
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started. I just actually merged on Instagram today, created an Instagram account at FS Snoog, and I started doing highlight reels and Instagram reels, and I did a Calvin Ridley one, and it got the chills pumping on my skin because he's just a phenomenal player. He's going to play with the best quarterback he's ever played with. I know Matt Ryan was an MVP caliber quarterback, but not towards the end when Calvin Ridley was in the league and when Calvin Ridley was actually good. Calvin Ridley hasn't missed time with injury. He missed time from gambling, so he's healthy as can be. He put on weight. He's cooking everybody in camp. He looks like he's on a different level than all the wide receivers. And Christian Kirk's a pretty good number 2 option. So Calvin Ridley's just blowing the doors off training camp. And Trevor Lawrence is a guy that threw for 4,000 plus passing yards last year. And Calvin Ridley's last full season, he was the wide receiver 5 overall, putting up incredible numbers, incredible efficiency, and I expect that to come again in 2023.
So taking it, we're gonna talk about both these from both the redraft and the dynasty perspective. So let's start with the redraft. So an underdog, he's currently going off as wide receiver 14, which I've heard from a lot of people. They're saying, Caleb, it's ridiculous. It's a little rich. He didn't play last year. He's about to turn 29. And I literally say exactly everything you say. His situation is the best situation that he's had his whole career. So all of a sudden, pair that with Trevor Lawrence, a young, up and rising superstar quarterback with an offense that's going to be elite. You're telling me that that's not going to be good for Calvin Ridley? Whatever. He has more competition. Like, he was still competing with Julio Jones when he put up his wide receiver, top 5 wide receiver season a few years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm all in on Calvin Ridley there in redraft. But then we even talk from a dynasty perspective. And you know us in the dynasty industry. Our wide receiver gets past the age of 28 years old and everyone starts to freak out. Where are you at with Calvin Ridley? Because right now I know Keep Trade Cut, a lot of people hate it, love it, whatever you want to say. But right now he is a wide receiver 25 on Keep Trade Cut.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have him higher than that. I would say I have like a tier after, like, there's like a big 17. So it's like you get through like the top 13, like young stars, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, all those guys. And then it gets to like the Quentin Johnston, DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy tier. And he's in that tier for me. So he's like probably like 18 to 22-ish for me. So I mean, the age is a little bit of a concern. I think he's 28, turning 29 years old, but he has not a lot of miles on him. And he was an old senior at Alabama. That's a school that was wide receiver U before my Ohio State came into play with all the studs like Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. But Calvin Ridley was just a late senior. That's why he's old. It's not like he's run 1,000 routes in his career. So this is a guy that's going to come in and be a good veteran in that 3-year window. And I could see an Adam Thielen type curve with him where he's still good when he's like 30, 31 years old. So I'm all in on him in Dynasty as well, mainly in Dynasty, because if we truly played Dynasty in that 3-year window, he's a phenomenal buy at wide receiver 25.
I need to pause us really quick. I didn't realize that we were both Ohio State Buckeye fans. Like, shout out to the fandom that's about to occur in the streets, that now there's 2 of us here preaching about all the great wide receiver use that we're about to continue to have. Kind of harping on Calvin Ridley a little bit more. So I'm just going to give you some guys, and we're going to say whether you would trade them straight up for Calvin Ridley. Would you do Brandon Ayuk for Calvin Ridley in a dynasty league?
Ayuk's good, but I don't like his situation that much with Brock Purdy, Kittle, CMC, Debo. So give me Ridley all day.
Okay, Jerry Jeudy.
That one's close because just like the age gap and the value right now. But I mean, Calvin Ridley's Trevor Lawrence's wide receiver 1, so I'm going all upside, and I'm not rebuilding in any leagues. I'm pretty much contending in all 28 leagues I'm in. So
George Pickens, final one. George Pickens or Calvin Ridley?
I'll take Ridley.
Cool. Moving on to our second wide receiver that we're going to talk about today, Amari Cooper for the Cleveland Browns. Now, Amari Cooper, 29 years old. So again, another older, more competitive wide receiver that, like we said, people hate the age gap for these wide receivers in Dynasty, so you can kind of buy them low. But for a lot of us that have built our rosters appropriately, and we're not relying on tanking, or we're not worried as much about age. Of course, we want the young studs, but I do love some Amari Cooper. Pair him with Deshaun Watson this season. Kind of dive into your love for Amari and what you think the upsides are for him this season.
Yeah, I mean, another top 10 year. He's coming off a career year, finishing as the wide receiver 10, 1,100 plus yards. I think he almost got double digit touchdowns, or maybe he did. He was like 9 or 10. So this is a wide receiver that's elite on every single team he's ever played for. And I like to make a joke with my friends about this reoccurring issue where he's just been stuck with mediocre, inconsistent quarterbacks like Derek Carr and Dak Prescott. They're so similar with hot and cold. And then Amari has just fallen down that hot and cold slope with them. But I mean, this is a consistent separator on all three levels. He's good after the catch. He's one of the best route runners in the NFL. Dominated press coverage, man coverage, zone coverage. He can do it all, and he's playing with the most talented quarterback he's ever played with. I'm not saying that I know for sure Deshaun Watson's going to form back into his old self, but I can tell you he's going to be better than Jacoby Brissett was last year, and he was coming off a career year on fire with Brissett. So I think he fits in well with this Brown system, and now he's got some other weapons like Cedric Tillman and Elijah Moore to spread the field and command targets as well, keeping the double teams off of Amari Cooper. So I'm all in on him again, and he's probably like the wide receiver 30 in Dynasty right now.
Yeah, in Dynasty, he's fallen quite low. Wide receiver 35. His last 3 seasons, he's been like between wide receiver 22 and wide receiver 17 on a points per game basis. So just crazy. Crazy the value with Amari Cooper. So if you're contending, you got a competitive roster, go get Amari Cooper. Right now in redraft, he is going off the board as wide receiver 17. So it does feel like he's being drafted pretty appropriately compared to his points per game last season. But like we said, the upside, he didn't even play with Deshaun Watson for a full season. So add in a full season of him and Deshaun Watson, baby. It's over. It's over. Great
Absolutely.
price. Moving on to the third wide receiver that you brought up that we want to talk about that has top 12 upside is Jerry Jeudy. Now, I know we talked about him versus Calvin Ridley before, talking more in the dynasty value landscape, but Jerry Jeudy has kind of been that up-and-coming young budding star that we all thought was going to be elite coming out of that same class with like CeeDee Lamb, of course, Henry Ruggs, his whole situation. But where are we at with Jerry Jeudy? Is Russ going to cook this season? What makes you so excited about Jerry Jeudy and his potential upside?
Yeah, I mean, he's coming off a career year. He was on pace to crush 1,000 yards. I think he got like 30 yards just shy of that, missing like 5 games. So, I mean, this was a guy that was going to be on pace for like 1,200 plus yards. So I like to say that he's going to break out this year, but he really did last year. The injury just kept us from actually seeing that. But this is a super good route runner. He's great after the catch. He's super quick. He's going to fit in nice with Sean Payton's offense, because a lot of the offensive schemes that he likes to run is just getting open quick, play action, yards after the catch, slants, outs, digs, everything we saw Michael Thomas do. We're going to see a lot of Jerry Jeudy, and Jerry Jeudy can also go deep. He's got that 4.4 speed. So this is a guy that has built the connection with Russell Wilson. Marvin Mims is a great prospect that I liked coming out of Oklahoma. He's my wide receiver 5 in the class, but he's a rookie and he was a second round pick. So the odds of him falling out this year and taking away a ton of targets from Jerry Jeudy isn't likely. And Cortland Sutton can still be good because he was last year. I mean, when he was playing and when he was healthy, he was like a wide receiver 3, high end flex, like putting up 10 to 15 points a game. So it's okay that both of them are on the field. And if not, it's better because Russ is going to start cooking, hopefully, get back in the rhythm, have more options. And Jerry Jeudy's going to be the main face of that offense. So that's why I'm all in on him.
Yeah, so Jerry Jeudy, like we kind of said earlier, wide receiver 23 on keep trade cut. So you're having to pretty much decide between Christian Watson, Brandon Ayuk, Jerry Jeudy, and George Pickens. Like that's kind of the range of wide receivers. And if you have to make me bet on one of those guys, I mean, I do like Ayuk. I think Christian Watson, you can see the upside, but Jerry Jeudy, the way he wins routes, like I think that's what makes me so excited about it. It's not like he's just overly athletic. Like he is athletic. I mean, he plays in the NFL, duh. But like his route running is just so pristine, and that was what was called out for him coming out of college. And we just need to see Russ get back to cooking to see, I think, Jerry Jeudy reach that full potential. But yeah, I'm trying to remember the splits on towards the end of the season. Like he was pretty much, I think, like a top 10 wide receiver on a points per game basis, like the last 5 or 6 weeks.
I think he was top 5.
Yeah, top 5. So it's just, I think last year it was such an up and down roller coaster year there for Jerry Jeudy. So I am exactly with you. I think he definitely has top 12 upside. He's proven that in short stretches. So if he can just all of a sudden explode that for a full season, that is great. And so I know we hit on his dynasty ranking right now in redraft. He's going off as a wide receiver 20. So I think you're getting a pretty good discount on that based on the production that he had last season, where if you get Jerry Jeudy as like your wide receiver 2 in redraft, you're feeling amazing about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking at his game log now. He missed 4.5 games and he put up 972. So, I mean, this is a guy that was going to put up an easy 1,100, maybe 1,200 yards because he was averaging like 16 65 to 70 yards per game. So I'm all in on him in this. Redraft, he's probably even cheaper. What is he? Probably like wide receiver 25-ish in that range.
In redraft, he's wide receiver 20.
Okay, so that's weird that he's a little more in redraft, but I'm
Yeah.
still fine with that. I'm looking right now at my rank. I have him wide receiver 21, so that's pretty on par with my ranking. So I like that value a lot. It's right after Deebo Samuel, DJ Moore, and DK Metcalf for me.
Well, yeah, definitely think the upside's all there for Jerry Jeudy. Let Sean Payton and Russ cook, and Jerry Judy's going to be eating in the kitchen. That's what's going to be happening.
Yeah.
So let's move on to our next wide receiver. We couldn't help but throw in an Ohio State fanboy. I didn't realize that we're both fanboys, so we're just going to be talking about this guy forever. That's Terry McLaurin, who I feel like for the last few seasons, it's always been like, get this man a quarterback and watch him produce. And they didn't get him a quarterback. Sam Howell, for whether right or wrong, how you view him, it needs to prove that he's even an NFL quarterback to even then step into, he's going to be an elite level fantasy football producer. Now he is a gunslinger, so I think that does help Terry McLaurin quite a bit. But tell me, what makes you think there's like top 12 upside for Terry McLaurin this season in fantasy?
Yeah, I mean, he was the wide receiver 14 last year overall, and he put up 1,191 yards. He lacked touchdown efficiency, but I mean, he was playing with Taylor Heineke and Carson Wentz. I think Sam Howell can be better than both of those guys because he has that strong arm that's suited well for Terry's skill set. But I mean, this is a guy, I posted an analysis to break down on him earlier I think it was this month, that he just absolutely dominated man coverage and press coverage like a true alpha. He draws double teams like a true alpha. So, I mean, this is a guy viewed by NFL defenses like he's a true alpha wide receiver 1. So there's no reason we shouldn't, because this is a guy that I'm not scared of. Jahan Dotson's a guy that was relied on touchdowns to put up fantasy points, and he's only going into his second year, and he's just not even close to the same level as wide receiver as Terry McLaurin is. So I'm all in on Terry. Only 120 targets last year too, and he was the wide receiver 14. He's had a couple he had season with 130 and 134, so he hasn't even hit that like 140 to 150 level of target range, and I think he can this year with Sam Howell.
Right now in keep trade cut, wide receiver 29, so pretty good buy low value if you're trying to, of course, add quality wide receivers onto your dynasty team. And then if we're talking redraft, going off the board as wide receiver 25, so pretty much in line on both of those. It's kind of crazy too. I mean, granted, his age is what's making him lower in dynasty rankings, but like you said, like Jahan Dotson, for as much as you may love him, you may hate him, touchdown upside was his thing last season. And then, the connection with Curtis Samuel, as much as we do love Curtis Samuel, pretty much gadgety wide receiver, we love what he did to Michigan back in his OSU days. He is not going to be there to take Terry McLaurin's lunch. Terry McLaurin, I like that. Top 12 upside this season. And let us hit our last and final wide receiver we're talking about tonight with DJ Moore.
Yeah, I mean, he's my favorite of the bunch. I have him as the wide receiver 17 in redraft right now, and he's probably 17 or 18 right there behind Quentin Johnson in Dynasty as well. I mean, this is a wide receiver that has posted 2.0 plus yards per route run in every season he's played in with the terrible Panthers, and that's an efficiency metric. So if you're able to do that with all the different quarterbacks that he's played with, that goes to Cam Newton, Sam Darnold, PJ Walker, I mean, this is a guy that didn't let that bad QB play affect him. He was an 1,100 plus yard receiver, and I think 3 or 4 out of the last 5 seasons as well. So he's getting the target share, he's getting the yardage, he's getting the efficiency. He just needs to bump up those touchdown numbers, and he'll be a wide receiver 1 this year. And I think with Justin Fields, this is a guy that's a strong arm quarterback. They're building something around him. They boosted up that O-line. They added weapons to kind of cater around him. They added Roshan Johnson in pass protection. So he's going to have more time to sit in the pocket and develop as a passer. And I think DJ Moore is going to be the face of this offense.
I have gone and bought DJ Moore in almost all my dynasty leagues, but I feel like there's people on Twitter, and you've seen them, that say DJ Moore, as for all of the talent that we've thought he was, he's just not going to get enough targets in this Bears offense to actually be that top level fantasy football superstar that we think he could blossom into, or we've been projecting to blossom into the last few seasons. So when someone says the volume for the Bears passing game is not going to be there, what do you say?
I think it's not going to be top 10, but I think it'll be middle of the pack, and that's fine because we saw what the Devontae Smith and AJ Brown did last year with a very low passing offense and with a similar type of quarterback. I mean, this was a rushing quarterback that everybody said couldn't throw the football, was inaccurate, couldn't make reads, can't read a defense, can't throw on the run accurately, just like they're saying with Justin Fields. And Justin Fields has an absolute cannon. He has inconsistent times with his throwing, and throwing on the run's not always the best, but I mean, this is a quarterback that we saw from time to time make the best deep ball throws I've seen in a while, especially out of a rushing quarterback. Justin Fields to DJ Moore connection is going to be strong. And even if they're a middle of the pack team and passing intense overall, this is going to be a guy that can still command 140 plus targets.
And we need to speak on the fact that as Ohio State fans, that Justin Fields, when he was in college, yes, he was fast, but my man like hardly ran. Like he did run when he had to,
He
but
sniped
he was
everybody.
a sniper in the pocket. And the fact that people didn't get to see that because of the terrible offensive line last season is just a sham. It's just an absolute shame. For me, when we're looking at dynasty prices right now on Keep Trade Cut, DJ Moore going off the board, wide receiver 20. So I feel like that's pretty appropriate. I think the buy low window has closed, especially after the last preseason game. And then if we go over to like redraft, he's going off as wide receiver 22. If we think what he's going to do this season, I think worst case is a high end wide receiver 2. And I think best case, we're talking about him in that wide receiver 6 to wide receiver 9 range. And in both of these instances, you're going to be profiting heavily if you're going to be able to invest him in either your dynasty or redraft leagues.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And this is a guy that I would be looking to tier off kind of the upper tier asset guys like T. Higgins and stuff like that. I mean, I love those players. I'm a huge Devontae Smith fan, Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins. I bought so much of them last year before their big breakout seasons and when they were rookies because I was huge on all of them as prospects. DJ Moore could have that breakout type season like we saw with Diggs when he went to Buffalo with Josh Allen. That they're very comparable. And the funny thing is they even went to the same school, Maryland. So I mean, they're both good route runners. DJ Moore's a bit stronger. He's a bigger wide receiver. He's a lot better after the catch. So he's going to the same type of situation as a quarterback that was inaccurate, rushing quarterback, big, strong guy, strong arm, but people didn't think he could take that next step. I mean, Justin Fields, no doubt in my mind, can if DJ Moore is on the football field. So that's why I'm buying up DJ Moore. And we saw the same thing with AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts. I know AJ Brown's on a completely different spectrum than all those guys, but same type of thing, same type of deal.
So if you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube, just want you to know all these guys we think have top 12 potential, but you're not having to invest top 12 prices currently right now, whether we're talking dynasty, whether we're talking redraft. So make sure if you're in your drafts, you're targeting these guys. If you're doing trades, you're targeting these guys. And shout out to FF Snook for coming in here, giving us the information that we all needed. Again, go follow my mans on Twitter. You're not going to regret it. Best decision I made 2 years ago. And yeah, excited. And if you're here for the first time on the channel, hit that like and subscribe button as well as we're trying to get to 500 subs. But as always, appreciate you guys for tuning in here today. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.